The truckpocalypse has begun. Folks, this week going into effect is a California law that makes 70,000 truckers illegal. Not the people coming across the border, mind you. The owner-operators of big rigs in California are going to be illegal, and laws are going to be enforced against them for daring to try to work as American citizens inside the United States. We're going to get to that. Right, folks, so a number of you reached out in the comment section and emails and said, why in the world would California be enacting such a law? Why would they be going after truckers? Well, we're going to get into kind of what that law is, how it's going to affect 70,000 truckers, what kind of truckers it's going to affect, and we're going to be talking about, how this is going to affect the economy of California and how it's going to affect the economy of pretty much everybody in North America. If you're in Australia, it's probably not going to affect you too much other than just the fact that it's going to affect North America. All right, let's jump into it, folks. So the law that's going into effect here is AB 5. Now, originally, it was designed to protect employees and to protect workers, sponsored, of course, by the unions. And just like any other good government legislation, it's going to accomplish the exact opposite of what it's intended to do. So it's stated to protect workers. So mostly this is in response to places like Uber and Lyft, where they have been engaging in kind of shady practices to avoid labor laws and avoid making their workers essentially employees. While you may know of many people who work for these kind of companies that have not just one, but multiple stickers on their car. They work for Lyft, they work for Uber, they work for whoever else. I don't know what else is in that field, but they work for multiple different companies. They do ride sharing. They're basically taxi drivers, but without being unionized. And of course, they don't have quite as many regulations on them as do taxi drivers. So these people have been mostly claimed to be independent contractors. They are small business owners that they do business with Uber and Lyft and such like that. So the unions, not liking the fact that these people could skirt regulations and also so that they cannot be unionized, decided that they should try to ram through in the California government a law stating that basically everyone has to either be an employee or they have to be out of work. So there's no middle ground. You can't have your own business. You have to work for a business, a large corporation and such. So, immediately across the state of California, hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of businesses and industries started trying to apply for exemptions from this, saying, it's different in our case. We're special. Carve us out. So this doesn't apply to us. And they did. Hundreds of different industries and jobs became exempt from this ruling. So, naturally, the California Trucking Association said, well, we should be exempt as well. But they were denied. Probably because a significant portion of truckers voted for the wrong party. Probably. Anyway, so they decided to take it to court. So they applied and tried to get this stayed. Just this past week, we found out that the Supreme Court had denied their appeal, and so therefore, over the next 7 days, this law is going to go in effect against owner-operators in California. There are about 70,000 owner-operators in California. Men and women who own their own small business, they own their own big rig, they contract out to the highest bidder to make money for themselves, and they get to do business on their own terms, at their own hours, and such like that. So this labor law is going to come into place and force them out of business. They either have to start working for a company, a larger company, or they have to move out of state, or they can just retire. So that's what's happening this week. They basically have 7 days to either comply with the law by becoming an employee somewhere or going out of business. It's accomplishing the direct opposite of what was intended. And as the California Trucking Association has said, this is going to have profoundly destructive effects. This law is going to just basically take all these owner-operators out of business. Now, some of these owner-operators are not one truck, right? Some of these owner-operators are, they have a fleet of trucks. So you have a business and they own trucks and they basically work for several companies or a company, and if they are too closely tied to any company, they have too big of a contract to a company, they will be forced either to become employees of that business or they will have to do business elsewhere or something like that. So this is where it is. Okay, so let's talk about what the effects are. So 70,000 trucks coming off the road. That's going to have an immediate effect out there. So we're looking at Saturday. After Saturday, you're not allowed to be doing this anymore. You have your warning, and so we're going to probably see some things pop up on after Saturday. Are the truckers going to take it and just roll over, or are they going to start protesting? We see what's happening over in the Netherlands, where the farmers are protesting and causing all sorts of ruckus. Are we going to see the same thing in California? If we do, don't expect the Californian police and state police and local municipalities to put up with it like they do immigration. They will not put up with that. They will enforce non-laws against these people who have the audacity to try to work for a living inside the United States as citizens of the United States. We're going to see a tremendous clampdown if there is any kind of protest or anything like that. One of the tactics that's being used in the Netherlands is that they are blockading food distribution centers. So basically the grocery stores have their distribution warehouse, and they're blocking that so that trucks cannot get in and out of those distribution warehouses. Like I said, are we going to see something similar in California? It's possible. There's going to be a lot of very, very upset, angry people who are very capable of organizing and getting things done. When you tick off the logisticians, the logistics guys, they can make you hurt in ways you never knew that you could hurt. They know how the machine operates. They are the machine, and they know exactly where to put the shoe to sabotage the machine, if you know what I mean. And that's what we're looking at here, is that California has decided to declare war against some of the most capable, most independent, and most knowledgeable people in their state. A bunch of bureaucrats have decided this, and union people. It may surprise them what happens next. 2, obviously with all these trucks stopping in California, there's going to be a lot of stores, there's going to be a lot of produce and a lot of materials that are not going to move starting next week. So a lot of stores and a lot of distribution warehouses and stuff like that may not have nearly the truck traffic that they're expecting. So stores all across California are probably going to miss some deliveries. They're going to just not get the truck in that needs to come in to restock shelves and everything like that. That may have some big effects on people's minds over in California. Gee, why isn't there anything on the shelves? Well, the truckers didn't come in because they're not allowed to come in because the government told them they're not allowed to. That may have some effects there on the store shelves. For those of you who don't live in the socialist utopia of California, you're not living on the streets in a tent like most people, you may say, well, that's just California. And I report these type of stories. I try not to get into the whys quite so much. I tell you the direct whys, but not like all the political this and that whys. And so sometimes people are like, well, I don't care about the Netherlands. What does that have to affect us? I don't care about Germany. Who cares about that? Well, you know, these situations around the world are going to have ripple effects on everyone else. If you don't think the United States is going to bail out Germany when they get into all sorts of trouble because of their stupid policies, you got another thing coming. If we had a different administration in the office, we might just cut them loose and just say, you made these choices, you got to live with them. But as you know, the current administration is very much into bailing out people who make poor choices and bailing them out by using the money and the resources of people who have not made those dumb choices. Anyway, so California. Who cares about California? Well, remember that I believe it's 80% of all the stuff that comes from dragon country over there across the sea, all the manufacturing happens over there. It comes by ships, and most of it, 80% of it, lands in California, and then has to be unloaded from those ships. It gets put mostly on trucks and on rail, but mostly trucks, and then the trucks take it off of the port and take it to warehouses where it then will move once again either to rail or to truckers who are going to take it across the country to where it needs to go. With a lot of these truckers who are not going to be allowed to operate in California, that has a significant potential for jamming up the ports more severely. Now, they already had a law that went into effect where owner-operators were not allowed to go to the ports, but they were able to in a large part shift those owner-operators to picking up and distributing stuff from the distribution warehouses and using the union people to go back and forth to the port. But this is going to hit him once again because they've shifted all the owner-operators to picking stuff up from the distribution warehouses and moving them to the next place along the line. With all those owner-operators suddenly disappearing from that leg, we're going to have this big gap where stuff is going to move from the port to these warehouses that are in the local areas around like Port of LA and such like that. But suddenly it's going to get stuck there, and those warehouses are going to get filled up, and they're not going to be able to get those products and those resources out of there. Remember also that a significant proportion of the fruits and vegetables, yes, the fruits and nuts of California, come from California. For most of the United States, greens, vegetables, fruits, nuts come from California. And that produce and that food needs to get from California to the rest of the country. How does that happen? It doesn't happen by airlift. It doesn't happen by magic. It happens by truckers. And a lot of those are owner-operators that are carrying a lot of that produce and such. If that suddenly stops, we're going to have a lot less fresh food across the United States because that's where it all comes from. So we got a food chain, supply chain disaster that is unfolding this week. What will happen next week? How many of these owner-operators are going to just jump to becoming employees? Are they going to be able to get that worked out, the paperwork, in order to become employees very quickly? I don't know. Are they going to be able to come up with some sort of deal where they get hired as employees to drive their own trucks, and how that's going to work? That's got a lot of issues with it. By driving your own truck as an employee, who's responsible for the insurance? Who's responsible for the fuel? Who's responsible for this and that? If you're set at wages, is it like commission? Is there commission? Is there bonuses? Like, there's a lot to negotiate through on a lot of that stuff, and I don't think that they're going to be able to do that very quickly. So a lot of trucks are probably going to come off the road, at least in the short term, while people are trying to figure out how to adapt to this insane environment. Once again, the California government cracking down on legal citizens who are trying to work and own their own business. These owner-operators went through great lengths, in most cases, to choose not to be employees because they thought that that would be beneficial to themselves. And they are now being forced by the government to go into an employment situation that they do not want. Yay for government. Taking away people's free choices and taking away people's opportunities since the dawn of time. This is going to have big impacts on people around the world. not just because it's going to bring the United States to a bit of a grinding halt, but it is going to impact the port operations of the United States. While the United States doesn't export a whole heck of a lot, this has a significant possibility to jam up the ports again off the coast of California. If there's a lot of ships waiting, once again, that's going to impact shipping prices across the world. That's probably what we're going to be looking at there. There may be mass protests in the coming days. We may see some interesting things along those lines. Stay safe out there, folks. If you like this video, you might want to check out this video right here. Otherwise, I will see you later. Steve Poplar, out.